Good morning, David. I'm doing absolutely fantastic. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing pretty good, but I wish the weather was getting better. I feel like it's so unpredictable out there today. It's so stressful. Is there any way to get, I don't know,
Yeah,
vision in
it's
the
it's,
future? I don't know what to do, man.
it's kind of ironic that that's your feeling today, David, because actually our guest today happens to be Mr. Bret Morris, and he is the co-founder of PerceptionPredict AI.
Oh,
Thanks
maybe
for
you can help me out.
maybe he can. Bret, thanks for being here today. Can you tell us a little bit about your company, what it is you guys do?
Thanks, Steve. Thanks, David. Like the weather, most of the time they get the weather predicted pretty well, and particularly the temperature. They always tend to get it right. Some of the other pieces can be a little volatile. In order to do that, weather forecasters use data, lots of it, truckloads of it. And they've got a lot of history of it to figure out what's going to happen tomorrow, next week, and even next year. And we're in the same business. We're in the talent intelligence business. And we've been engineering a platform using talent and data science for about 6, 7 years now. And it's an exciting area to be in because it's right at the cutting edge. And yeah, happy to be here today.
Interesting, very interesting.
Well, that sounds like a very interesting topic, and I have a question or two for you. So, first, how do you work and integrate AI with the management companies that we deal with, the MCs, as we say?
Yes. And we deal with MCs around the world, actually, not just in the US, but around the world. They might be called management companies for condo and HOAs. But in other parts of the world, it's called the strata management industry. Different names, but precisely the same business about looking after boards and residents in communities and really serving their needs. And it's a very interesting field that we work in. We work across lots of different fields globally. But this one is particularly interesting because of the emotional demands it puts in people who work in management companies. So we've been working on this for quite some time, really trying to understand what it is about the people that work in management companies, and particularly CAMs, community association managers, who have a very emotionally demanding job. In fact, what we
Yeah.
call emotional labor.
Okay. All right. So
Emotional labor. That is an interesting concept we haven't really heard on the show before, Steve. Not that I can recall.
that's a term I definitely haven't heard before. But can you tell our viewers, can you explain a little bit about the science behind your prediction modeling and how that kind of thing works? I mean, we understand there's tons and tons of data. How do you guys apply that?
We use data from the industry itself. We don't scrape social media. We don't use resume data. We don't use any data related to any biasing factors like gender and age and race and ethnicity and education and employment background. What we're interested in is what's the psychological make of an individual, and do they have that unique and often very complex combination of attributes that makes them good at a particular job role. So we've been studying the job roles in management companies and particularly CAMs to understand what that is without getting too deep here and risk putting people into a coma. But there's 100 years of predictable talent science, and there's 300 years of predictable data science methodologies, and we put those together in a unique way to figure out what it is about the makeup of a CAM that makes them effective at what they do.
Wow. That sounds insanely complicated and also insanely interesting. This kind of blows my mind. What about you, Steve?
You know what? I've been following this closely for a few years now. And yes, I find it terribly, terribly interesting. But I really want to know more about how you can actually apply the data and what you can do with it, what the end result is, and how it can be useful for community association management companies and the managers that work for them.
Yes. And for a management company, we're focused on two specific pieces. One is every company itself has a particular culture, the kind of shirt sleeves definition, the way we do things around here. So those management companies operate in a particular way. And one of the things that we do for a management company is produce what we call is a performance culture fingerprint. So that if a management company is hiring anybody into any role in that management company, they can figure out whether they're going to be a good fit and whether they're going to perform in that business. Because you can take any group of people in a management company, whether it's 50 or 500 of them, and all the managers in that company can stack rank their performance from, really top performers to some people who probably are not performing as well as you would like. Management company managers, they know what good looks like. The issue, the challenge that they have is how to identify that what good looks like in someone I've never met before.
Sure.
That is a super interesting point because we're definitely in an industry where we see a lot of lateral movements. So you have a manager trading a 7 association portfolio for another seven association portfolio with a different company. And those lateral movements, sometimes you're wondering, well, how do you know? How do you sure that it's going to be the right fit for you as a business? So that's definitely piquing my interest. How does the management company knows that what you're putting together with all the data, the math, the algorithms, the data that you're collecting and analyzing, how do they know that it actually performs for their benefit?
Yeah. Thank you. That's a good question, because that's a question that ultimately every management company ultimately asks us. It sounds good, but hey, I'm skeptical. I'm healthily skeptical, but I'm definitely want to understand, can this actually work? Because companies, whether they're management companies or in any field, in any business worldwide, if you're not using data and intelligence to make decisions about people, about who to hire and who to promote, it can be a real crapshoot. So we're bringing data and intelligence and building a prediction system and a model that a management company, once it's built, before they ever deploy it, we overlay it on the existing team. And with the question that we're using that model to ask about the existing team, if we had to hire this existing team from scratch today, and we know who they are, we know how they're performing, how would the model predict their performance if we were hiring them today? And then we're able to see how close we can get to that. And the reality is that we actually get very close to it. We get within roughly 15 to 20% between actual observed performance and predicted performance using the model that we build using the management company's own data.
Oh, wow. No kidding. That's pretty cool. And I'm glad that you brought that up about deploying it, because I'm kind of interested. How complicated is that to deploy? You described a little bit about how you can try it out to see what the decisions they made, and it works and it validates that system. But is there a lot to do to get it set up and running?
For some smaller companies, they could literally have it deployed within 7 to 10 days. For a larger company who says, look, I want a bespoke model. I want you to use all my data, study my people, take in that data, and we do all the heavy lifting. I mean, there's no real hard work on the company here. A little bit of nudging of the team, obviously, and getting them involved, and there's a lot of feedback that goes back to the team. So the team itself is learning a lot about themselves. We take in all that data, we build the model, and that model build and deployment process is generally about 60 days.
So how does a management company get started? And is this model for like big, small? What's the perfect fit?
Yeah. And the answer is we work across any role, any team, any culture, any workforce, from small SMBs through to large enterprises. You know, we work with the Googles and the Yext and the CrowdStrikes and the large companies in bigger enterprise, but we also work with management companies that have 6, 8, 10 people. So it's really across the board, and we tailor what we do for each company. We either can take a, if you will, this sound like I'm talking both ways here, but you can take a custom model off the shelf that's built for management companies, for condo and HOA management companies, and you can deploy that extremely quickly. Or if they're a much larger company, like the aggregate larger management company groups, then you're going to do something special that's more bespoke for them.
Okay. All right. It all seems to make sense. It seems to be pretty effective, but can you tell us, I'm looking for failures here, but can you tell us your success rate a little bit? Where are you seeing this really, really working out the best?
When you talk to client CEOs, founders, managers, presidents that utilize PerceptionPredict AI, what they tell us, and which they happily share in case studies and the like, is that we're always looking to identify and bring in new people to the industry. And we struggle with that because too often they'll turn over in 3 or 6 or 9 months, and then we can't figure out what did we miss in the beginning. And so what they say that we give them as a blueprint. It's a blueprint for better understanding Mary, Joe, Bill, Steve, David, Bret. What am I getting when I bring this new individual in as a CAM or another role in a management company? So it's a blueprint, and client companies say that it just gives them more confidence and make decision, because what we're providing them with is a probability model that if you make a decision to hire this particular person, how likely will it work out? And we give them great confidence around that, but it's never a game of perfect. We're dealing with people and they're messy, but it's about using data intelligence to decision making.
Yeah, it sounds similar to, I mean, the AI stuff is much, much newer. It's on the pointy end of the spear, but it sounds similar to some predictive models that people used to use, but this is just taking it to a whole new level and a whole new experience. And probably it's got to be much more effective.
We think so. Our clients think so. And I think it's because it's giving them confidence to make better decisions.
Gotcha.
That is.
Well, that's fascinating. We get to the time of the show right now that's in line with what you brought up. I know we don't get anywhere by ourselves. Is there anybody that you would like to give a shout out to that may be influential in your company or people you work with? We'll give you 30 seconds to shout out for whoever you want.
Yeah, I'd love to give a shout out to Heather Gambini. She's a director of CAMS over at the Empire Management Group, one of our clients in Orlando, Florida. And she's just has a real spirit about the way she goes about her work and the way she thinks about it and the way she thinks about caring for not just the CAMs she manages, but the HOAs that she also manages with and through the CAMs. And also does great work at working as a trainer and educator at Valencia College, training new CAMs who with no exposure to the industry and teaching them about what it takes to be an effective CAM.
All right. And can
Okay.
you repeat her name again?
Her name is Heather Gambini.
Heather Gambini. All right. Here's the shout out. Well, we appreciate your time today, Bret. It was enlightening. Yes, is that correctly, Steve? Enlightening.
Yes. You got that. You got that one. Nailed it.
Nailed it. Thank you. I'm sure we're gonna have more questions. Look forward to see you at some events this year. And in the meantime, I wish you all an excellent rest of your weeks.